You didn't fail because you were weak. You failed because something far more powerful made the decision before you even realized there was a choice. Right now, inside your skull, there is something smiling. It isn't afraid of your goals. It isn't impressed by your motivation. And every single time you sit down to do something hard, it slowly picks up a rope and starts pulling. The terrifying part? You almost never win. Here's what most people believe. They think the problem is laziness or distraction or not having enough willpower. So they download a new app, they make a new schedule, they write a new list, and for about 3 days, everything feels different. Then that rope tightens again. And here's why no app in the world can fix that. Your brain is not trying to help you achieve your goals. It is trying to keep you alive. And for millions of years, keeping you alive meant one thing above everything else: don't waste energy. Think of your brain like a power plant that serves an entire city. It has to distribute electricity to thousands of buildings at once. Every thought, every decision, every movement, all of it draws from the same limited grid. And just like a real power plant, when demand gets too high, the system automatically cuts power to non-essential areas. Doing hard things is a non-essential area. So your brain doesn't see your goals. It sees a drain, and it redirects power accordingly. Mechanism 1. The path of least resistance. Water always flows downhill. It doesn't debate, it doesn't hesitate. It simply finds the lowest point and moves toward it automatically. Your brain does the exact same thing with behavior. Every time you repeat an action, scrolling your phone, watching TV, checking notifications, your brain builds a tiny neural shortcut, a microgroove. Do it enough times, and that groove becomes a channel. Do it even more, and it becomes a canyon. Now here's the part nobody talks about. Those channels don't disappear when you decide to change. They just sit there, waiting. And the moment your willpower dips even slightly, when you're tired, stressed, or bored, the water finds the old canyon again, without asking your permission. You weren't weak, you were following physics. Mechanism 2. Dopamine isn't what you think. Everyone says dopamine is the reward chemical, that it fires when you feel pleasure. That's only half the story. Dopamine actually fires in anticipation of reward, not when you receive it, when your brain predicts it's coming. Which means every time you reach for your phone, dopamine hits before you even unlock the screen. Imagine a slot machine. The sound it makes when you pull the lever, that chime, is specifically designed to trigger dopamine before you know whether you won. The excitement isn't about the win, it's about the possibility of the win. Your notifications are that chime, and the problem runs deeper. Each time your brain gets an easy dopamine hit, a like, a reel, a quick laugh, it quietly recalibrates what counts as worth the effort. Hard work starts to feel not just difficult, but genuinely unrewarding, not because you changed, because your brain updated its baseline. The rope just got a little stronger. Mechanism 3. The identity loop. Here's something strange. Your brain doesn't just manage your actions, it protects your story about yourself. Deep in the brain, there's a system that runs constantly in the background. It isn't focused on the outside world, it's focused on you, who you are, how you behave, what kind of person you've been. Neuroscientists call it the default mode network. Think of it as the narrator of your life, always running, always whispering. And that narrator gets very uncomfortable when your actions don't match your story. If you've spent 5 years being someone who avoids hard tasks, that narrator has written a very clear character. And the moment you try to act differently, it creates internal friction, a quiet resistance, not loud like fear, subtle like a hand on your shoulder. This is why starting is often the hardest part. Not because the task is impossible, because the task belongs to a different character than the one your brain has decided you are. You're not just building a new habit, you're rewriting the narrator's script, and narrators don't give up their drafts easily. Mechanism 4. The prediction machine. Your brain doesn't experience the world, it predicts it. Every moment, your brain is making a rapid forecast: what's about to happen, what it will cost, and whether it's worth it. This forecast runs faster than conscious thought. By the time you decide to do something, your brain has already submitted its verdict. Think of it like a weather system. Old storm data, past patterns, accumulated experience, all of it gets processed into a single forecast. And if the forecast says high cost, low return, the system sends a signal that feels exactly like reluctance. That reluctance isn't weakness, it's a forecast. And here's what makes it so persistent. The brain trusts recent data more than old data. So if you tried something hard last week and stopped halfway, that counts as evidence. Your brain files it. The next forecast gets slightly more pessimistic. Each time you quit, the forecast gets worse. Each time you finish, it gets better. The tug of war isn't happening in the moment. It's been happening in the data for months. Mechanism 5. Stress and the shrinking world. When the brain detects stress, real or imagined, it narrows your attention. Literally, like a camera lens pulling back from wide angle into a tight close-up. This is ancient. In a dangerous world, tunnel vision kept you alive. You didn't need to think about long-term plans when a predator was chasing you. You needed to survive the next 30 seconds. The problem is that your brain can't tell the difference between a deadline and a predator. So when life gets hard, when pressure piles up, when sleep drops, when anxiety rises, your brain quietly shrinks your world. Long-term goals blur, immediate comfort sharpens into focus, and that smiling brain in the thumbnail tightens its grip on the rope. This is why burnout doesn't just make you tired, it makes you short-sighted. Your 10-year plan vanishes, your morning routine collapses. You're not failing because you stopped caring. You're failing because your brain is in survival mode, and survival mode has no use for goals. Mechanism 6. The effort illusion. Here's the one that quietly sabotages everything. Your brain doesn't measure the actual difficulty of a task, it measures the expected difficulty. And that estimate is almost always wrong, especially for things you haven't started yet. Psychologists call it the effort illusion. A task you haven't begun feels heavier in your imagination than it does once you're inside it. Your brain looks at "write this report" or "go to the gym" and constructs a mental simulation of the total effort involved. Then it recoils from the simulation, not from the task itself. Think of it like an old map. Before explorers actually sailed across the ocean, maps showed the edges of the world filled with sea monsters. Not because they were there, because the unknown needed a shape. Your unstarted tasks are filled with imaginary sea monsters. The moment you begin, the actual first motion, first word, first step, the monsters disappear. Because now the brain has real data instead of simulated data. The forecast updates. And suddenly, what felt like climbing a mountain turns out to be a hill. The brain was never pulling you away from hard things. It was pulling you away from the idea of hard things. Modern life has made this dramatically worse. For most of human history, getting an easy reward required some effort. Food took time to gather. Rest had to be earned. The distance between wanting something and getting something was naturally large. Today, that distance is almost zero. Within seconds, you can eat, be entertained, socialize, shop, and feel productive, all without standing up. The brain's ancient reward system was never designed for this. It's like installing a Formula One engine in a go-kart. The power exists for something much larger, and when it's used for small, instant things constantly, something important gets depleted: the ability to want things that take time. But here's what's quietly happening every time you do hard things anyway. When you push against the rope, when you open the book, start the workout, write the first sentence, the brain doesn't immediately reward you. In fact, it resists you harder. The first few minutes feel like walking through mud. That's real. That's not imagination. But something else is happening beneath that resistance. Every time you finish, a tiny structural change happens in your neurons. A new groove forms. And unlike the old grooves carved by easy habits, which were carved by repetition without resistance, these new ones are carved against friction. They go deeper. The brain is not changed by intention. It is not changed by motivation. It is changed by repeated action done slightly before you felt ready. The stick man in the thumbnail, he looks like he's losing, but every pull he makes against that rope reshapes the rope itself. You are not in a battle of willpower. You are in a battle of architecture. That smiling brain isn't your enemy. It's doing exactly what it was built to do. Preserve energy, avoid uncertainty, protect the familiar story of who you are. But here's the thing it doesn't know. It was built for a world that no longer exists, and the only way to update it is to keep pulling.